My name's Scott McKee. I'm the Managing Director of BirdDog. You don't control shit anymore. This is the other common mistake that I hear all the time. Companies that are unable or unwilling to support a social strategy because they're afraid of the consequences. They want to remain in control of their brand. We've spent a lifetime trying to build up value in our corporate brands, and the last thing we want to do is have them trashed instantly online because we're no longer in control of them. Well, I wish I'd learned to let go earlier. Okay, we all let go in life one way or another. Here's our commercial director letting go on his fashion sense, for example. On another Christmas theme, we try to let go of friends and family like this just as quick as we can. We let go of our kids at some point. So what makes us so reluctant to let go of the brands? Well, the brand isn't yours anymore, and as soon as you realize that, the sooner you realize that, the better your social activity will be. So brands live and breathe and evolve in the minds of an audience. And increasingly, again, as we discovered earlier, those audiences live online. Okay, this is Jimmy Lee. He's the vice chairman of the US investment bank JP Morgan. And he discovered the hard way. You may have heard of JP Morgan in the States. They've been suffering recently on the back of the financial crisis in the States, and more recently with price fixing allegations over electricity bills in the States. So there is deep, deep public resentment over the JP Morgan brand currently on the back of mortgage foreclosures and so on. This was last month, I think, in November. One day of fines costing $1.3 billion to JP Morgan, just in fines for penalties from the financial authorities. So in the middle of all of this, they announced that they were going to have a Twitter event in November this year called #AskJPM, where Jimmy, the vice chairman, would be available to answer any questions that the public had for them. So it was an official event. He was taking over just for an hour to answer people's questions on JP Morgan. And needless to say, that caused a bit of a stir online. There's Alexis Goldstein there saying, hey, look, JP Morgan wants us to ask them questions under the #AskJPM. But she wasn't just telling her community, she was directing it specifically at the likes of Strike Debt and Occupy Wall Street. Okay, so immediately there was a negative uprising here. And the people decided that they would ask questions, but not quite the questions that JP Morgan had in mind. So how do you decide who to foreclose on, darts or a computer program? Every time another person loses their home to an illegal foreclosure, does a bell ring? Yeah, and the questions went on. Do you have a secret jail in your offices so your executives get at least one chance to see the inside of one, on the back of none of the JP Morgan executives going to jail as a consequence of the financial crisis? As a young sociopath, how can I succeed in finance? #AskJPM. Yeah, so lots of good questions. The fact that you've paid over $500 million in fines since August, is that a source of pride, or are you embarrassed it's not higher? Okay, so actually, the people decide the social agenda, not the brand. This is one example of many where the brand has to follow the interests and the will of the people and not push the corporate agenda, whatever they may think. Yeah. Ultimately, that session was cancelled. Tomorrow's Q&A is cancelled. Bad idea. Back to the drawing board. Yeah. Social media team will probably get blamed for this activity, but actually, it's the fault of the corporation for not understanding how social channels work and that the brand's no longer in control. Bet Jimmy wishes he'd known that.